Like, hey, do you want to come work at Facebook? That's when I showed what I built to some people in Facebook, and they're like, this is amazing. And then a couple of months later, they were like, Casie, try this out. They're like, we built this. And I was like, oh my God, that's my idea. What is it? Joy jar. Healthy life, happy living. Ooh, this is good. I like the cucumbers in it. Pokemon Go was the very first commercial success. Any female that is interested in tech, just find a way. You know, you don't have to push yourself over the limit and overstretch yourself too far. And I know it took me, 5 years to jump into technology full time from a different career. And it's scary. It's scary. Apple Car, they're in Singapore. They do surgical planning for surgeons.
Hello everyone, welcome back to a very, very special episode of Tech Talk 360 where we are featuring an international guest, and it's none other than Casie Lane Millhouse. Hi.
Hey, I'm super excited to be here.
I just met her in a summit that has happened in Sri Lanka, and she with a really packed schedule, she came today to our podcast, and we are really excited to have you on board on the podcast, and I'm going to see an amazing episode today with you. Casie is the founder of Shashu, am I right?
Yep.
Perfect. And we can just talk about what Shashu does and what Casie is doing in the VR and XR space among all the industries, and how she's also, mentoring tech startups and, giving them a boost to the economy. So just to start off, to everyone who's waiting for this episode, who is Casie?
Who am I? Oh my God. That's a good one. Sometimes I ask that question. I guess you could say I'm an American, a proud U.S. Air Force veteran.
Wow.
I'm also a college dropout. I was a pre-med student and realized that, I'm going to follow my passion. And I took on coaching gymnastics. So for a decade, I was a gymnastics coach through the U.S., in Bermuda, and the national team there. Then I was in China, and then also in Singapore. I'm actually really excited because one of my former gymnasts from 10 years ago, she's on the Australian national team, and she's going to the Olympics now. So I'm really excited about that. But I no longer work in gymnastics. I started to teach myself how to code. I got really interested in technology, specifically like, how is technology shaping the way we behave and the way we work? So like anybody who wants to learn what tech is, you start learning how to code. Thankfully we have free code camp and all these resources online to teach yourself how to code. I got an opportunity to do a boot camp for women who wanted to learn how to code from a woman who was working at Facebook at the time. And so I was selected out of one of 8 in that first batch. Then I loved the program because I got to network with other people that came from different industries. And I remember at the time her name was Elisha, the woman who did that. She's like, hey, do you want to come work at Facebook? And I was like, no, I think I'm going to work at startups. And so that's what I did. After that program, I realized, maybe I don't want to be a software engineer. But I really loved the way of like learning, a different way of learning and thinking about how to problem solve. From there, I went and started working in different startups. One of them was a virtual reality company. And as soon as I put this like toaster thing on my head, I was like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. And so I just got really interested in virtual reality, augmented reality, learning as much as I could. The best thing about specifically like this industry, virtual reality and augmented reality, is like nobody comes from it. And I had the opportunity to go work at Meta for the past 2 years, and I was an augmented reality specialist where I built out the products and had a lot of fun there, and started my own company after I finished my contract. And the company that I have now is doing developer programs to help augmented reality and virtual reality developers and startups build and commercialize. And I focus mainly on the aging population and people with disabilities, and all sorts of like social causes in that.
That's like a really lot in like a few seconds.
Yeah.
So I am just, quite shocked where I can start now, but I'll just start off here. So where does this journey began actually from, flashback to gymnastics and then college dropout and then blah, blah, blah. And then the shift, where did it actually happen?
I wouldn't say it was actually like one certain like magic moment. I think it was like a series of events and really understanding how technology is shaping the way I did, like getting my first iPhone, or getting the first knockoff iPhone when I lived in China. And being like, okay. And then also seeing like different platforms at that time, like SoundCloud, which is like a music tech. I got really interested in that because I love music, and just seeing how you could like exponentially grow. And then when Instagram came around, I was one of the very first users there, and I was just like, wow, you could do so much with this. And then I wanted to understand how it works, how it's built, how it's made. And so that was kind of like the series of curiosity that got me to this point now.
If I just shift a gear a bit and pop in this question, what actually happened in the US Air Force, and just share that experience as well?
I guess I was after high school. So like a lot of Americans that come from lower middle class income family, we don't have savings to go to college. And I saw my sister go to college, and she paid for everything on a credit card, which was insane. And I was like, I don't want to go into debt. So I enlisted into the Air Force because you could use the Air Force to help pay for your college. So that's what I did. Unfortunately, when that happened, I went in just before 9/11. So that after 9/11, everything changed. But I really enjoyed my time in the military. I loved that kind of, you get what you put into it. And I was actually a personal trainer in there. So I got to tell people what to do. Even higher ranking officials, tell them to do more push-ups. So
That's actually a good layer to start our conversation. So taking from there, we'll just stick to the hot topic right now is AR and VR.
Yeah.
And how's your journey with Meta? And we have this here. What is actually AR and VR for people who don't know about it still?
Yeah.
And what's the future on it? I bet it's like a next level game changing movement.
Yeah. So I guess I'll start with virtual reality because it's a little bit easier to understand. So virtual reality is taking your entire view and putting it into a different digital dimension. So everything that is real, from what we understand to be the truth, is not there, and that's overlaid by any like digital screen. So it could be like a complete headset, it could be like goggles eventually, and then it could be like contact lenses that completely block everything out. So that's the one spectrum. The other spectrum is called augmented reality. So augmented reality is when you overlay real life with digital elements. So that can be done like through your phone, augmented reality. We see like silly face filters and stuff on Instagram, TikTok, and Snap. That's changing the real world with digital layers. And then we have mixed reality, which is the concept of taking those two concepts, but instead of virtual reality where it's completely covered, and augmented reality where you have the real space, what mixed reality does actually takes, it scans what's from the camera and replays it for you, plus the digital elements on top. So that's mixed reality. So it is kind of confusing once you think about it, but it's like, oh, it's just a camera replaying it for you with whatever elements. And you had a little to see what that was like.
I think you mentioned about the Instagram part of it, and I think you were there, the story behind the filters, and you were part of the whole process on that. Let's just explain on that as well.
Yeah, so I forgot what year it was. I think 2016 maybe. I was working in startups with doing like marketing and app acquisition. And I did a lot of stuff with like Facebook ads. And I saw like a little pop-up and it said, hey, do you like augmented reality? And I was like, yes, I do. And I clicked that button and all of a sudden I'm into this program, which is like a beta program for developers and designers to play with the software that they had. And this is even before it was called AR Studio back then. And Facebook had acquired a company and they were like, hey, we could use this as a developer tool. So that's kind of where it started. It was about like 100 people. Since then, about half of the people have worked at Meta at one point. There weren't that many females too. It was like one of two females at the very beginning. And it was such a great time because we were able to work closely with the software engineers at Meta or Facebook at the time to help them develop the product. And unlike most of the other people who were, hardcore developers or creatives, I was a marketer and I always thought, hey, this is going to be amazing for brands and for clients. And I was like, let me figure it out. So I would partner with a developer to build like an AR thing. And then I would use ads and chatbots to see if we could drive sales. And click-throughs and everything like that. We did. And that's when I showed what I built to some people in Facebook, and they're like, this is amazing. And then a couple of months later, they were like, Casie, try this out. And I was like, they're like, we built this. And I was like, oh my God, that's my idea. And then eventually I got the opportunity to join and actually help the teams shape the ad products with AR.
One of our guys, I had a question whether that you have met Mark Zuckerberg by any chance.
Oh, no, but I would play like the filters with like Zuckerberg like hugging me all the time, and I would post it. I would post it internally, and I had my own talk show when I worked at Meta. I had my own like video show, and I don't know if Zuck saw it, but I definitely know the CTO boss Andrew has seen my work. So,
Well,
yeah.
Some of these guys were asking, has she met Mark Zuckerberg? Let's see,
It's funny, we're the same age, like so. It's
So let's just touch upon the future of AR and, like you mentioned, mixed reality, augmented reality, virtual. What do you see? Like, I'm pretty sure there's like major changes coming in, and I hope you have some hints for us to give on what are the major changes that's coming on.
Yeah, so we look at a lot of the augmented reality that's out there. Like Pokemon Go was the very first commercial success. But there's a lot more that can be done with augmented reality to help people. Not just for like a brand or fun experience. For example, you could use your camera to like measure things. You can help, do little things like that. One of my favorite augmented reality applications is actually the Google Translate, where it translates text in real time for you. Like, I'm a mom of a daughter who takes Chinese, and I don't speak Mandarin, so that's how we do her homework. So it's my favorite app. But, as we go away from this to like glasses, just imagine like how easy it would be. Your Sri Lankan like language is crazy to a foreigner. And I'm like, I don't even, like, it's pretty, but I have no idea what the signs say. So if I have like these glasses that can help translate like
signboards and
that, like maybe I'll be able to get around a little bit easier and not get lost. But I'm really excited because I know that it's not just Meta. We have all these other companies that are trying to build the glasses out. I know for a fact a lot of companies are working on trying to get them as low cost as possible. There is a company out there that wants to make the most money as possible with one device. But there are some really great companies that are working together, because it's not just one company that makes like the glasses. It's also not just one company. Like there's companies that are suppliers, the batteries, like different components, like the lenses. So it's like a ecosystem of about 100 companies that need to work together in order to keep the costs down. And so I'm really excited about what that means for like consumers, especially in Southeast Asia and India, here in Sri Lanka and in Africa. Like that access to this technology is just going to help everybody like boost the economy and hopefully provide great tools and services through AR glasses.
That's a perfect answer for that question. So if I just ask you, Casie, in terms of the tech startups that are going around, and so in Sri Lanka, like I mentioned, the gap is there too. Pretty sure that there's a lot of cost in developing such a product. So what do you tell to these companies whether to invest in this technology, or whether to just wait for it and hit it at the right point? Or what do you say about that?
That's a really great question. And yesterday I had the opportunity to meet with 5 different founders in Sri Lanka that are working in AR and VR. And I was just so surprised. I was like, oh my God. I didn't know that it was like people were actually doing it. And they're seeing the same kind of struggle from other founders like as a whole, because companies don't see it as like something that is necessary for them. But it actually is like used as a training tool to help save lives. In healthcare, doctors use it to learn how to perform surgery so they don't have to cut open like a cadaver. I've even seen nurses being trained in Africa with virtual reality, because it only costs, it's less than $500 to buy one of these and to take it out into the field. You only need like data or like Wi-Fi, instead of investing in a big institute, a classroom and everything. So this is like a really great tool for education as well. And I think that's something interesting that maybe, young people here and listening start thinking about, like, okay, if we want to learn certain things, like what are the barriers and how might this type of technology, get rid of those barriers? Like we don't need a classroom anymore to like learn how to become, a nurse, or learn how to build stuff like a mechanic, or there's just so many really great things that you can do at this, and you don't always have to think about selling to a brand,
Definitely, like you just mentioned. Also, Casie, let's just touch upon women in tech, and the numbers are increasing, and it's really pleasure to see we have featured some great women in tech during our podcast as well. What do you say to the girls? And we have some girls here also.
Come on over, baby. Yeah, it's when I first started in like technology like 10 years ago, I went to, I just wanted to learn so much that I really just didn't care like if I was a woman or not. But I did see a big difference when I went to my first hackathon. It was like 150 guys and then 3 women. But there were women that were like volunteering, because they were interested in technology, so, and they might not be as like crazy or out there as me to like get started. So that's kind of like, if you're a little bit too timid in like jumping in and participating right away, doing things that like support the community. So, I see some of you ladies here that work in different fields that are, helping with the podcast. That's an excellent way. Like just because you're not a software engineer doesn't mean like you're not in tech. If you're part of the ecosystem, if you're helping with like educational content, if you're helping doing community events, like we need people like that. But we also need people that are very smart in, their own field. bring that knowledge and solve the problems. Just because it's tech doesn't mean it's like super high tech or whatever. It could still be in like finance, for example, or in healthcare. So I would say to any female that is interested in tech, just find a way. You don't have to push yourself over the limit and overstretch yourself too far. And I know it took me 5 years to jump into technology full time from a different career. And it's scary. It's scary, but also find out, seek out mentors. Like, I didn't have very many options for other like females that were in the space, but I would reach out to men all the time. And some of those gentlemen that I've reached out to 10 years ago, we're still really close friends now. I think that's the wonderful thing about like the tech communities. Is that everybody kind of wants to learn and grow together, and everybody's, for the most part, very kind. There are some people who are maybe quite rude, but to me, that was always a sign, like, if they didn't have the patience to, like, teach me or, I wouldn't want to work with these types of people like down in the long run. I'll be like, one day I'll be successful and they'll want to work with me, or they'll want to ask me a question, and I'll just be like, okay, here's everything I know.
But one thing that we can pop it in, that the importance of networking and
absolutely
is really important. And what do you actually say about that as well?
Yeah, so kind of going into like my first jumping into like startups, I didn't know that many people. So I actually found a little gap in the market, and the gap was how do female entrepreneurs actually get the mentorships that they need? Because a lot of events at that time for like female entrepreneur for like, how do you build your brand? How do you build an Instagram? I'm like, this is not tech. I'm like, I want to know, like, how do you fundraise? What does that mean? Like, how do you build a team? How do you, do the operational side? So I started doing little mentorship sessions where I would invite an investor, or I would invite another like seasoned entrepreneur to come to small events with about 10 people, 10 other females. And that's how I was able to like, one, network with people that I wanted to meet, but also start building a community of supportive people that were on the same path as me. So that's kind of what I would suggest for other people. Start thinking of how you could either contribute to a community, or if you see a gap in the market, start building your community and trying to support each other.
Amazing. So I'll just shift the gears a bit and let's talk about Shashu. Let's talk about Shashu as well. What is the journey behind Shashu and the vision, and how did it all begin? And just talk about that.
Yeah, so the company actually just came from an idea of wanting to build programs that actually did something good for the population. One of the things that I loved about working at Meta was I had the opportunity to do large-scale programs. So, for example, in Latin America and Mexico, I did a program there that did education and culture with augmented reality.
Is that how the name came, Shashu?
No, but that actually came from like a trip to Japan for work. And then I also helped organize hackathons throughout in Asia. And the name actually comes from, it's a joke. It's kind of a dirty one. Do you know have you ever heard this joke? Or the joke goes, is that a gun in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Okay? And so when I was in Japan, my friend Mark, he goes, are those chopsticks in your pocket? Or are you just happy sashimi? And so I just thought it was so funny. And then we just made a whole like weekend of this joke, and we were just laughing so hard. And then I was like asking people, I'm like, is this racist? I'm like, and they're like, no, it's funny. I was like, okay, well then I'm so happy Sashiu. And then so like Sashiu became the name of my company.
That's actually...
And I'm so happy Sashiu. So like the whole idea is like bringing people together to build like tech solutions that will help people. And I'm very passionate about healthcare and mental wellness. My first hackathon that I did was with a mental health charity, which was a lot of fun. We did it in Bali, and then we had about 70 people participating remote as well. And this next one that I'm planning is with the disabled community, and SG Enabled is the organization from the government in Singapore. So we're going to be hacking solutions that help disabled people like work, play, and just enjoy their life a little bit better independently with XR technologies.
Wow.
So really excited about that one.
That is just amazing. So if I just touch upon how this VR, mixed reality, AR is touching upon like different industries, like you mentioned, for example, healthcare. From the other side, it can be agri-tech. I don't know. It's just emerging. What are the key industries that this AR and VR is just touching upon, and what do you see like the main changes that's happening?
Yeah, so there's really great applications when it comes to like training, specifically in like enterprise solutions. So the factory workers, whenever there's like a new factory that is being built, you need to train all those people. How are you going to train all those people if you don't have a physical, factory and machinery yet? So there are companies out there. I used to work with a company out of India. They're doing really well now, and they do all of the training for all of like the new automotive manufacturing companies in India. I see a VR booth that's near my house. It's like a construction, so it's a construction site. So the virtual reality helps train people in a safe way. We see it also in like defense or firefighting. Lifeguards are being trained on it. Doctors, nurses. It's a much more safe application than watching a video or having to wait till a very critical time in real life to do it. There's a company that I've been following for a while, and I just started playing with it, and it's teaching you like how to deal with people in stressful situations, like in a corporate situation or having difficult conversations. Even though it's like an avatar, you really go through like the emotions, like it feels real, and you have to figure out how to solve this problem.
Wow.
They have such great trainings, and it's only about like 5 minutes that you're going through each one, but I could feel like my heart pumping and everything like that. So really, it's like virtual reality is amazing for like training, and also for therapy. Like it's doing some wonderful things for people that are trying to overcome different pain, like pain. It's also great for like patients so that they can actually see what the plan is. Or for example, one of the companies, Apple Car, they're in Singapore. They do surgical planning for surgeons. So they take the 3D scans and the CT scans. They take the model of that, and then they pop it into a HoloLens. So the doctors can see exactly where a tumor is. They can plan how they're going to cut it, cut the person open, slice and dice them in a very minimal way. And that also cuts down the amount of drugs, the anesthesia. So that cuts the costs of the surgeries. It makes the surgeries a lot shorter as well. It saves the healthy tissue, and it also improves like recovery time. So from like a hospital perspective, they're saving money because they don't have to use so much, and they're also saving that. And it's beneficial for the patient as well. And the technology is actually helping the surgeons become better at their job. So it's pretty amazing. The also really great thing about it is like they have those 3D models, and the doctor can show the patient exactly what they're going to do, and it helps calm the patient down because going into a surgery is really scary. So this actually helps the patient like understand what is going on in their body, and it's pretty amazing when you
And
think about it.
mind-blowing. It's just
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
since you mentioned about the mental health and mental awareness, so people in tech and all the industry experts, what do you, even the youth, when they are coming in, how should their mindset be, and what do you suggest them in terms of having good mental health and having good breaks at right times? What do you just say on that as well?
Okay, so I have like two kind of dichotic ways of thinking about this. One is like you need to toughen up. Yesterday I just went and I listened to a talk of Anurag, who fell in one of the mountains, and he was like in the cold for like 3 days and 3 nights, and he survived. Like miraculously, he was survived. And I'm like, if I'm just going to complain about not getting things done, like it's my own fault, but like this person went through the most horrific thing and he's still going. He's moving, he's doing amazing things. And I think a lot of the, my own like mental health, and I think like with a lot of people is like, they feel bad about not doing what they say they're going to do, but all you need to do is actually do the things you say you're going to do and have discipline. So that's what I say about this mental health. Like, yeah, it is a big deal. I've dealt with it myself, but sometimes you just need to like toughen up and do the things you need to do. Saying that, you do need to rest and recover in order for yourself to like perform at the highest level you can. Coming from a gymnastics background and also the military as well, like you are expected to perform the highest level, but you do need times to recover. I'll go on times like, yes, I love technology, like this. I love my phone. I love playing with tech. I even like playing games too. But I will take like a weekend where I don't touch anything. So it's like I'll turn everything off. People will not, like, I won't say anything. You're not going to be able to reach me or anything. But the people that I love and I care about, like my children, like I'm going to be present for them for the entire like weekend and not touch anything. So it kind of gives me that little detox and reset. And I think like, me being here in Sri Lanka is kind of going to do that too tomorrow. I'm going to do that same thing, just head down to Gal and check out, So I think that is important to be able to maintain that high level of performance. But you have to put the work in. Don't procrastinate, because that's where the mental health like issues come in, is because you're not doing the things you said you were going to do. You procrast, you get distracted, you do other things, so you don't do the things you do. And then there's a level of shame, and then you feel bad about yourself. So, that's kind of how I have like two different thoughts on mental health.
So Casie, just coming down to the podcast, but let's just give a message to the youth, since you have been facing a lot of different youth in a lot of different ecosystems and even different countries. What do you say to the youth to focus on what with the current emerging world? So we have AI to do exams and assignments, and then we have AI. We have AI to develop great products in a business perspective. So what do you say to the youth? Do you say them to use AI and be smart, or from the other side, like you mentioned, there's always two sides. Using AI can, drain the brain down and, be dumb, something like that.
I would say some people say like AI is going to take over the world, but I think it's really going to be humans that can work with an AI will be able to leapfrog like exponentially. One of the things that I recommend for people to do is start talking to ChatGPT or using voice. I talk to my ChatGPT all the time just to like ideate. I'll be like, hey, I have all these stories in my head. How do I turn them into like LinkedIn posts? How do I format them into a blog? So ChatGPT, you can use ChatGPT as like just like a mentor or like an expert that helps you learn how to think. And traditionally, when you're in school, you're writing papers. You're writing. Like that's what you're doing. And the whole point is not just to write the paper. Like writing a paper takes a lot of thinking. You have to learn how to think, and it teaches you a different way to think. But now we have AI tools that can help you with this process of thinking. And so that's what I would say I would recommend to anybody is start learning how to use it, but not using it as like copying or just getting data. Have it ask you questions. So that's how every time I'm doing a prompt, I'll be like, are there any questions that you have for me so that I can help you do your job and we can work together to solve this? So that's what I would recommend.
That's definitely a great answer. And just the final question or final few minutes in the podcast, what do you say to Sri Lanka and how's your journey so far in Sri Lanka? I think you visited a couple of times. And how's it in Sri Lanka?
I love it here. The first time I came was 2014, I believe, just for a holiday. And then I got invited to come speak at Disrupt Asia, which is a tech conference. And I got to meet people in the tech ecosystem, and it's grown so much. What I would say to younger people in Sri Lanka is solve the problems you have in your country. You know, I know that you guys have so many problems. So many. I'm not going to say like I know how to solve them, and I think it's, it is the younger generation, and it is these people who really want to solve these problems that are going to fix it. Being in tech doesn't mean you're going to be like a billionaire. It's really like how can you use this to help people? How can you help your infrastructure? How can you help people do make their lives easier in some way? But I'm sure you could go around and figure out, okay, there's all these problems. What do we want to tackle? And how are we going to do that? And just, find the right team in Sri Lanka to do it.
I think you can solve it within like 1 week.
I just know how to put people together. I know how to put like, okay, this guy's a PhD. He knows how to do this. This guy knows what the problem is. Put them together. Now let's go find some money, get them some money, and build a company.
Build the company.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just finishing off, just give some thoughts on how the podcast was and how we can improve and how I'm pretty sure you have been to more podcasts than all of us are, and I'm doing probably in different companies, including Meta, like you said. How I just want to get an insight on how the podcast industry is also from your perspective, and let's just share some final thoughts on the podcast.
I think it's great. I like this. I love how there's so many people. You guys can't see how many people are in the background, but there's a lot of people behind here actually putting this together, and that's amazing. I've done podcasts in Singapore where it's like, all right, let's go do some podcasting, and it's like very corporate. And I could tell that everybody has like a passion for, educating younger Sri Lankan people about what's happening in technology. And I think you just have to keep that fire and passion to help other people.
Thank you so much, Casie, for coming today. And it's been a tight schedule, and you're going to Galle tomorrow. Hope you enjoy Galle tomorrow, and then you're flying off, I believe. Hope you have a safe journey, and when you come back to Sri Lanka, let's come back again to the podcast. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been a great episode, and it's very rare to get people amazing like this to a podcast, and I believe it's going to be a special episode. And thank you for all of y'all listening, and we have had a great episode today. Tune in again.